All just a matter of a few days, I had 3 people contacting me who were super frustrated with work. You know, finding a job, wondering how to get a great job or a better job, and at the same time, you know, still have a life. First, I got this random call from an old friend out of the blue asking me all sorts of questions about employment, you know, telling me he was dissatisfied with work and was wondering what he could do to make make his life better. Then I got this email from a college student asking me if he could, you know, ask a few questions. I said, well, sure, of course. But I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. He sent me a Word doc with like 3 pages of single-spaced questions all about life and work and how to make it happen enjoyably and how to live dreams and on and on and on. Then I got this Facebook message from someone who told me he'd been giving out 4 resumes a day for 6 weeks straight and had only gotten 2 interviews, but no results. And, you know, that's when it hit me. Resumes are dead. And you know, I knew that already. I'm a business development consultant. I work with business owners and CEOs and universities that, you know, they'll hire me from time to time to help them grow from where they are and where they want to be. And I've actually been at the interview table where companies have hired me to represent them and sit on the other side of the person trying to be hired and help with the interview process. And what's interesting is that behind the scenes, the hiring process isn't always exactly what you think it would be when someone comes in to get a new job. First, you have to remember that usually the people doing the interviewing, you know, the ones doing the hiring, these guys are super busy. There's actually a great NPR article that says that major companies typically receive about 6 times as many applications as there are employees in the company. So for like, say a 30,000 employee company, that would be what? 180,000 applications a year, you know? So here's what happens. Someone in the company puts out an ad that there's this job opening, and suddenly a flood of resumes come in. Now don't get me wrong, companies often require a resume in order to get to the next step, you know, which of course is the interview. But where the potential employee gets it wrong is that he or she thinks the employer actually hires from the resume. Now that's just not true. Resumes a lot of times are simply used to filter people out. They have machines that scan resumes, so sometimes a human doesn't even see it. So a lot of times they're not even read. And there are some employers that will actually, you know, they'll read the resume, they'll make notes on it, but a lot of times they're not read at all. They're actually scanned by the interviewer just moments before meeting the applicant, along with like 20 other resumes. I actually had an experience like that. I went in for this interview to be part of an organization, a well-known, very prestigious organization, and as part of the application I had to provide a resume, like 20 pages of answers to questions that they had for me about, you know, who I am and what I believe and that kind of stuff. And I actually had to pay a couple $100 for an application fee. Now you would think that if an organization is going to ask for all of that they'd take my application seriously and read every detail. That's what I figured. But when I got to my interview, it was a different experience. Now if I remember right, there was a series of actually 5 separate interviews. And one of the interviews was with the chief decision maker. I'd gotten there early. I actually met this big deal decision maker in the halls, you know, and when I got called in to meet with the main decision maker, after meeting with several other, you know, people that interviewed me, the first thing this interviewer said to me was, "Now, which one were you?" You know, and she said, "I've read like 10 of these things today," pointing at this huge pile of resumes, you know, on the desk, and mine was probably somewhere hidden in the middle. And I thought to myself, "Oh man," I said, "Well, I can give you some time to read it." And the interviewer said, no, that's okay. And I thought to myself, gosh, you know, I spent weeks putting this packet together and it was all for nothing. But it wasn't really. You know, the resume got me to the interview. But that's all. And that's the point. You know, if you're trying to get a job, a resume isn't going to get you one. It might get you an interview, but not a job. Resumes are dead. There's a better way than a resume.